Rose McGowan has racked up an impressive roster of credits since the 90s, but embraced her new role as an activist in the latter part of the 2010s. The actress starred on Charmed, but her life off-screen has unfortunately been anything but. Here is the tragic real-life story of Rose McGowan. McGowan grew up in Italy under some far from normal circumstances. As she revealed to People magazine in a 2011 interview, her parents were members of Children of God, a polygamous religious cult that gained popularity amidst the hippie ethos of the late 1960s. McGowan explained, "You were cut off from your outside family. There were no newspapers, no television. You were kept in the dark so you would obey." Recalling that she never really fit in as a child, she admitted that she once rebelled by lighting a bookshelf full of Bibles on fire. The patriarchal cult was rife with misogyny and has since, according to BBC News, become infamous for allegations of child abuse. Thankfully, McGowan and her parents were able to eventually flee the cult when she was 9, after her father found out the group's founder had begun advocating the idea of adults having inappropriate relationships with children. McGowan explained in a 2019 episode of the Irish Times Back to Yours podcast, "That was too far for my father, so we escaped." After bouncing back and forth from her then-divorced parents' homes, McGowan was just 15 years old when she legally emancipated herself. As she later told The Guardian, "I had about 25 cents to my name, so I represented myself in court. I needed to have control of my own life." However, the actress recalled how gaining that control came with a high price in a letter written to her younger self for The Big Issue. She wrote, "I was homeless, I was on my own, and I was very lonely. I was entirely focused on just surviving." Having grown up in a polygamous cult in which women were subservient to men, McGowan was left with no role models for what a romantic relationship was supposed to look like. As a result, she was woefully unprepared when she began dating. She wrote in The Big Issue, "When I started having relationships with men, I wasn't set up to understand that kind of world." Revealing that she attracted the attention of men who were older than her, she added, "At the time, I thought it was cool, but now I think it's creepy." In McGowan's 2018 memoir, Brave, she writes about being 19 years old in an abusive relationship with a man 20 years her senior, whom she left after meeting music executive Brett Cantor. Cantor proved to be her savior, finding McGowan a place to stay so she could escape that relationship. However, as their own romance blossomed, tragedy struck. McGowan was on her way back to Los Angeles after a road trip to Seattle, and at one point called Cantor's number and found herself speaking with someone from the LAPD, who delivered terrible news. Cantor had been killed. According to Variety, the 25-year-old was found inside his home with multiple stab wounds. Writing that Cantor would, quote, "always have a piece of my heart," McGowan noted in her memoir, "The case is still unsolved, but I have been trying for years to remedy that." In The Big Issue, McGowan recalled falling into a deep depression afterward and fearing the prospect of becoming homeless again. She revealed, "I was standing on a street corner crying, and a woman came up to me and asked me if I wanted to be an actress. Crunching the numbers, she figured accepting the role would mean she'd have enough money to get her own apartment, and so she took her first acting job." In 2001, McGowan and Marilyn Manson revealed they were breaking off their 2-year engagement. At the time, the couple had been together for nearly 3 years, and McGowan released in a statement via ABC News, "There is great love, but our lifestyle difference is unfortunately even greater." During an appearance on Watch What Happens Live years later, host Andy Cohen asked the actress what that lifestyle difference may have been. McGowan implied that Manson's admitted drug use was to blame for the split. Cohen guessed that Manson did too much cocaine, but McGowan didn't totally confirm his assumption. She went on to say, "It was me. Actually, I don't know. I plead the fifth. I'm honest, always. I can't help it." However, she shed more light on the split in Brave. While she called it a, quote, "pretty legendary relationship," McGowan wrote that she simply grew exhausted of Manson's rock star antics. According to People, she went on to admit, "I was really in love with Manson. I just couldn't do the lifestyle anymore. I was too tired." At some point in the 2000s, fans noticed that McGowan looked a little different. After much speculation, she eventually admitted to undergoing plastic surgery, but claimed at the time that it was reconstructive surgery to repair the damage inflicted to her face from a 2007 car accident. She told the New York Daily News that her sunglasses had sliced her under her eye and it needed a surgical fix. That tale, as she later admitted in her 2018 memoir, was a lie. The truth was that her appearance was altered during a botched surgery to fix a sinus issue. When the surgeon pierced the skin below one of her eyes by mistake, requiring reconstructive surgery to repair. The result, McGowan wrote, made one of her eyes look slightly pinched, leading her to have additional surgery on the other eye so they would match. McGowan admitted, "I told my publicists what happened, and they said to say it was a car accident. Looking back, I don't know why it mattered, but I took that advice. And so when I was asked by the press, that became the party line." In October 2016, McGowan took to Twitter with a shocking allegation. She had been attacked by an unnamed studio head whose predatory behavior was, quote, an open secret in Hollywood, and revealed that she didn't pursue legal action when a lawyer told her she'd never prevail in court because she'd done intimate scenes in movies. A year later, McGowan confirmed that the studio head was Harvey Weinstein, becoming one of the first actresses to come forward to accuse the disgraced movie mogul of sexual misconduct in Ronan Farrow's shocking report in The New Yorker. Since then, over 80 women have shared their own Weinstein allegations. Referring to Weinstein simply as Monster in her Brave memoir, McGowan opened up about the incident, which allegedly took place after Weinstein asked her up to his hotel room during the 1997 Sundance Film Festival to ostensibly have a meeting about her career.
He is a sociopathic predator. He thinks he's done nothing wrong.
In early 2020, Weinstein was found guilty of rape and sexual assault and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Following the verdict, McGowan told The Guardian, "I felt like I had about 500,000 pounds lifted off my shoulders. To have that burden lifted, it felt like my cells were dissolving." The years that followed her alleged assault by Harvey Weinstein saw McGowan's Hollywood fame fade as a big screen career that had been on the rise began fizzling out. The actress turned silence breaker later claimed this was due to Weinstein bad-mouthing her throughout the industry, advising directors and studios not to work with her. McGowan wrote in her memoir, "It seemed like every creep in Hollywood knew about my most vulnerable and violated moment, and I was the one who was punished for it." McGowan later learned that her experience was not unique, with other actresses making similar allegations of being blacklisted after refusing Weinstein's advances. Meanwhile, Weinstein denied ever having a non-consensual encounter with McGowan or any of his other accusers, with his lawyer previously issuing a statement to the New York Times insisting that, quote, there were never any acts of retaliation against any women for refusing his advances.
I don't know about you, but when you've had consensual sex, you don't really fill up with tears afterwards.
McGowan told The Guardian in 2019, "I miss performing, but my career was stolen. We all got stolen. And we were all very good at our jobs. That's the other crime in all this." While attending the 2020 Academy Awards, Natalie Portman made headlines with a fashion statement gown that called attention to female directors who had been snubbed that year. However, amid much praise in the press came a disparaging comment from one McGowan. In a lengthy Facebook post, she called Portman out as a fraud before blasting her supposed fake support of other women and deriding her as, quote, an actress acting the part of someone who cares. In response, Portman simply released a statement to CNN saying, "I agree with Ms. McGowan that it is inaccurate to call me brave for wearing a garment with women's names on it. Brave is a term I more strongly associate with actions like those of the women who have been testifying against Harvey Weinstein the last few weeks, under incredible pressure." McGowan seemingly had second thoughts about her initial social media rant when she took to Twitter to issue a post that she subsequently deleted. According to The Guardian, without mentioning Portman by name, McGowan had written, "My critique should have been about Hollywood's ongoing culture of silence. I realized that by critiquing someone personally, I lost sight of the bigger picture. All voices, however spoken, are valid." McGowan found herself facing a wave of social media backlash over an interview she did with Britain's The Times to mark the one-year anniversary of the Me Too movement going mainstream in Hollywood. In the original story, which the outlet later amended, McGowan was quoted as describing the movement as, quote, all bullshit. After the story was published, McGowan fired back with a scathing tweet insisting she was misquoted and her words taken out of context. "I never said Me Too was a lie, ever. I was talking about Hollywood and Time's Up, not Me Too." The Times subsequently updated the piece, emphasizing that McGowan was indeed criticizing Hollywood's approach to Me Too, not the actual movement itself. However, McGowan had more to say on the matter and narrowed in on the Time's Up initiative, further clarifying her words in a pair of videos she posted on Twitter, as well as another tweet containing the actual interview transcript to demonstrate how her words had been twisted. She wrote, "The question was, and you don't get invited to all the lunches? No, and I don't want to go because it's all bull. It's a lie. It's a Band-Aid lie to make them feel better."
So come on. It is fake. I wish it weren't. I wish everybody was good. I wish it wasn't like I'm sorry to puncture your heroes.
McGowan is clearly no stranger to sharing her views via social media, but that hasn't always gone well. Case in point, in a since-deleted tweet she issued in January 2020, the actress criticized the controversial U.S. military airstrike that took out Iranian General Soleimani. According to Newsweek, she wrote, "Dear Iran, the USA has disrespected your country, your flag, your people. 52% of us humbly apologize. We want peace with your nation. We are being held hostage by a terrorist regime. We do not know how to escape. Please do not kill us." However, the message was met with backlash from Twitter users who blasted McGowan as, quote, "a treasonous psycho, a disgrace to this country, and un-American." Some responded with the hashtag #MoveToIran. McGowan addressed the controversy in an interview with the Associated Press, saying that she didn't mean to come across as unpatriotic. She explained, "I don't support Iran over America. I want America to be better. I just thought I would do something a little strange or unusual." In May 2020, McGowan shared a vintage recollection from her appearance on Bill Maher's long-defunct talk show Politically Incorrect from back in the 1990s, and it was not a pleasant one. She wrote on Twitter, "Bill Maher, here's a memory I'd like to share with you. I bet you don't remember, but I sure do. I was so excited to be on your show and get to flex my mind instead of my face. Here's what happened. All I can say, Bill, you got the face you deserved." Attached was a statement in which she claimed that when the show was returning from a commercial break, Maher leaned over and whispered a highly inappropriate comment in her ear. People magazine's request for comment from Maher's rep went unanswered, while a rep for HBO, which airs Maher's talk show Real Time, told the Washington Examiner that the network declined to comment. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite celebs are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.